Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on the old show today, General Motors seems to be in quite a little pickle. A lot of trouble coming down its way. In the American markets, they have a massive recall that's been going on over the past couple of weeks. I didn't think it was a big deal in the beginning, but it's starting to really snowball and become into a very big deal. The amount of recalls are anywhere between 2005 and 2007 automobiles, and they include the cars of the Chevrolet Cobalt, the Pontiac G5, the Chevrolet HHR, the Pontiac Solstice, and the Saturn Sky. Now, all these particular vehicles actually have starter switch issues, the starter switch being the one where the key is actually implemented into the vehicle. Now, they're claiming, General Motors that is, and a lot of other pundits are saying that the actual problem comes from folks actually using very, very heavy key rings, big key chain accessories and whatnot, coming off these things and dragging down the actual key cylinders themselves and affecting this switch. Now, what happens if this switch does fail? Apparently, it could happen while the vehicle is in motion, and not only does it disable the steering altogether, it takes away the power brakes, obviously the power steering, and as it locks the steering wheel, the vehicle can continue rolling at its continued process as far as where it was going and whatnot, without much of anything to stop the vehicle other than a hard foot braking. Not to mention, the airbags are supposedly disabled when this vehicle shuts itself off, so if you do have an incident, and there's been 31 incidents so far, and sadly 12 of those being quite tragically ending with fatalities, the situation is becoming more grave by the second. Now, General Motors is trying to be in front of the problem, or at least a little bit, as they're actually looked on as being behind the problem, as there's a lot of folks saying that this deal was going on in late 2007, right after the bankruptcy, and General Motors just kind of swept it under the rug. Now, this being said, General Motors is in an interesting situation as far as the lawsuit front is, because apparently all this happened before the bankruptcy, and that particular General Motors doesn't exist anymore, at least not in the court's eyes, so there's no one to actually sue anymore for these poor people that have gone through some serious situations. Now, as far as the actual servicing of the vehicles, they're talking about April, early April through March, they're going to fix all the vehicles, and all the vehicles, we're talking 600,000 to 660,000 units out there, they're going to need to be recalled. Now, General Motors given up somewhat of an olive branch as they're actually giving out $500 gift cards to new General Motors products, which sounds a little bit cheap to me. And they're also going to give away free loaner cars, which is obviously a very, very good deal in this situation. Now, when it comes down to it, General Motors has really hired an investigator to really get to the bottom of this problem, where it came from, why it happened, and who may be at fault for sweeping it under the rug a tad bit. So we'll wait and see what comes of this particular situation. But right after getting out of bankruptcy deal and getting out from underneath the government, now have this deal happen, not good for General Motors. We'll see what comes of this in the future. Next up on the list, well, the folks over at World Car Fans actually came up with some specs of what quite possibly the next generation Supra and whatever BMW model is going to be called, as this is a joint effort between Toyota and BMW. Now, obviously, Toyota showed off this FT1 concept back at the, goodness gracious, was it Detroit Motor Show? And this particular vehicle is stunning to look at from every angle. A lot of folks say that the next Supra is going to look an awful lot like this particular machine. Now, the folks over at World Car Fans actually came up with what they think this vehicle is going to be all about. It's going to be mounted very low like this particular automobile. A lot of lightweight materials, including carbon fiber and aluminum and whatnot. This vehicle is going to be an FR car, meaning front engine, rear wheel drive, and they're talking about a 50-50 weight balance. Now, this all sounds fantastic. Now, let's talk about the heart of the beast, the power plants, if you will. These particular vehicles start off with a 2-liter, normally aspirated 4-cylinder, making 218 brake horsepower. At least that's what they're thinking. Also, it could have an upgrade of a 3.0-liter, normally aspirated V6, putting out 320 brake horsepower. And that's all the way up to the monster one, which is going to be the twin-turbo 3-liter V6 that's going to be making north of 400 brake horsepower. This is all speculation. Nobody knows this for 100%, at least not as of yet. There is some talk that the actual Toyota version will make its official launch in the year of 2017, and also the car will cost somewhere around $50,000 US when it goes into market. The BMW version will go for a little bit higher. They're talking a little bit north of $60,000 US for that particular model. But me, for one, cannot wait for these two cars to make it to market. So we'll keep you in tune to what we hear. Maybe some more official news coming down the pike. And last up on the list, the Fast and Furious franchise is going to be kicking it back into gear as far as filming the next Fast and Furious franchise film. Now, there's actually been somewhat of a hiatus, especially after some filming, and the hiatus after the tragic death of Paul Walker, the star, one of the big stars from the Fast and Furious film series. Now, Mr. Walker's character, supposedly a lot of the stuff was already filmed before his tragic death, but they did actually use, supposedly, his brother in some long shots to actually use, as actually the close-ups may have already been done, at least most of it has. A little bit of a rewrite had to have been done as well. Now, the filming will start again in April of 2014 in 2 different locations. There's going to be some filming in Atlanta, Georgia, and there's also going to be some filmed in Abu Dhabi. And then the rest of the film will be wrapped up and will be shipped out, hopefully with a 2015 release date. We were hearing April of 2015 in one of the last reports. We'll wait and see what comes of this particular situation. And the situation with Paul Walker's character himself, Brian O'Connor. Hearing a lot of rumors floating about that actually the Brian O'Connor character will just be retired and won't meet with a tragic ending of the life of that particular character. They may just actually end his character off, not actually have any closure, apparently. You may just hear of where he may end up or something like that. And they're going to continue on with the franchise, which I pretty much could have told you that was going to happen. This thing is a cash cow, even though some of the past movies has been pretty awful. But can't wait to see the next Fast and Furious film. I'll guarantee I'll get to see this one as well. And it's nice to see those folks getting back into it and getting to get this film actually completed, hopefully on time. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this week's Motor Cars Enthusiast. If you want to jump on over to the Facebook page, the link's down in the show notes. Also, if you want to subscribe to the channel, you can do so at any time and get the first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again real soon.